Are you guys live? Okay, cool. Welcome, everyone. Now officially, apologies again. We had an electricity outage in an area where we usually don't have an electrical outage, but that's just how it happens sometimes. So thank you so much for staying patient, being with us. Those guys online also welcome today. For the welcome, I'm going to hand over to one of our executive directors, Gracia. Gracia, do you want to come to the front, and then we can get started?
Thank you, Katerina. Hi, everyone. I think you can hear me well. Before we start, I just want to put a round of applause for the team. So Katerina, Christo, Vanessa, everyone that contributed to having this beautiful venue and also the event. I think they deserve a round of applause. Great. So I think most people know me, but my name is Gracia. I'm one of the executive directors, and I've been with ACEN now for just under 8 years, and I have to credit Sally for having invited me to join ACEN. Correct. So I have the difficult task of taking you through the program, and I'll speak about ACEN, but today really the purpose is to celebrate ACEN's 10th-year anniversary. Thank you for joining us, for those who have made the effort to be here in person, and for those online as well. Let me just move on. So for the program, we'll start with a special thank you. Everyone will agree that the venue that we are in today is beautiful. We couldn't have asked for a better venue. So we'd like to thank colleagues from the VNA, Petru, who I invite to speak here. But even more importantly, the venue is an in-kind contribution, so we have not contributed a single cent. The VNA is an institutional member of ACEN, so we thank you very much for your generosity and also sorting out the electricity. I'll hand over to her, and she'll speak about the venue. As you can see, this is being done with sustainable material. Let me not spoil it. She will provide more details in line with ACEN's ethos and principles. Thereafter, we'll hear from the co-founders, 3 of them. So we'll have Peter, Susanna, and then Sarah that will walk us through a bit of a journey from origins of ACEN to the role that ACEN is playing on the African continent. ACEN is a network, Pan-African network. We're very proud of it. We have a few testimonials and videos and comments from our members across the network that could not be here with us today. We'll present that, and then lastly we will also launch our progress report, something that Katerina and the team have worked very hard on, and going forward we would be very proud of, because we'd like to make that to make it an annual publication. Thereafter, I'll hand over to Katerina, who will then take us through hopefully a toast for the next decade. We've now celebrated the first 10 years. Let's define and let's hope for what the next 10 years will end up looking like. Quick refresh in terms of what ACEN is. I'll talk about our vision. I think I'm very much preaching to the converted, but our vision is to build a restorative African economy, generate well-being for everyone, prosperity, and inclusive for all people, and particularly the Africans who live on the continent. We've got 3 pillars, and we've worked very hard on defining them. Christo, who handles our communication, we spent quite a bit of time trying to identify that. The first one is connect, true to today's event. So a community of practice of circular economy experts, collaboration across sectors, and accelerate the circular economy transformation. The second one is empower. And many people would have noticed, based on if you follow us on social media, we've got knowledge sharing, masterclasses, skills and tools that we are making available to our community of practice. And the last one is transform. So we were working very hard to essentially position ourselves to be able to deliver impactful programs and projects aligned with our principles that embed both across policy, business models, systematic changes across the African continent. So if you want to remember the pillars, it's CET, Connect, Empower, Transform, or Circular Economy Transitions, to what we are trying to do. Exactly. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Petru, who will, from the VNA, who will talk us.
Good morning, and thank you, Gracia, and everybody here today. It is wonderful to have you all here, and again, apologies for the delay. We really take pride in that things work, We've really been taken aback by the power cut. And so, again, just thank you for your patience. On behalf of the V&A Waterfront, I'd like to welcome and congratulate ACEN on 10 years of leadership, collaboration, and impact. A decade is significant in any industry, and in sustainability, and for us who are in it, knows it represents persistence. It represents staying with difficult conversations, pushing boundaries, and building credibility in a space that very often evolves faster than what we can keep up with. It feels particularly fitting then that we celebrate this milestone in this beautiful Granger Bay Pavilion. And even though the space is not a landmark tower or a signature mega project, it tells an important story about sustainability and circularity. The structure itself has been built because for our Granger Bay future development, we needed a space for stakeholder engagement, and we needed a venue that is visually attractive, interactive, and very close to the actual development and where it will take place. The contractor and designer for this building was David Crano Design, and the intent was to showcase sustainable construction that includes structural timber, dematerialization, and natural ventilation. The intent was further to be able to disassemble the structure once we do not need the space anymore or when the space comes up for development. So you could argue from seedling to mature trees and structure, this building is actually 30 years old. The timber was sourced from a sustainable forest in Mpumalanga. Each component was fabricated in the David Crano factory, which is located near close to Hartbeespoort Dam. And as I've mentioned, it's been made for disassembly. There were some lessons with this whole project, but Crano is confident that if you'd like to do this now, it could take a team of 7 carpenters, about 7 days. So if you're in the market, if you're thinking about a lovely cottage, maybe somewhere in a forest, you can get in touch. Apart from the sustainability ethos of this building, David Crano was also a suitable partner because of the intent on creating social value and social wealth and opportunity. They are located in the Northwest Province, which is one of South Africa's poorest areas. And so there are currently 36 employees working for them. And their goal is to become a center of excellence that can develop low-skilled, ambitious job seekers to become skilled wood manufacturers. They've also developed an internship program in partnership with the Gauteng City Regional Academy. And in the last year, 16 of their 19 interns were offered full-time employment. So this building is light touch. It sits gently on existing infrastructure, and it reflects circular thinking. It uses what already exists, and it adds value without unnecessary expansion. And in that way, it mirrors ACEN's journey. 10 years ago, circular economy principles and regenerative thinking were not as mainstream as it is today. Conversations around embodied carbon, material transparency, life cycle thinking, they were all niche topics in many boardrooms, and today they are increasingly becoming non-negotiable. That shift did not happen by accident. It happened because organizations like ACEN created platforms for technical dialogue, peer exchange, and collective learning. At the V&A Waterfront, our own sustainability journey matured in a similar way. What started as isolated environmental initiatives has evolved into an integrated ESG approach that cuts across energy systems, waste infrastructure, water resilience, enterprise development, and social inclusion. We are currently working on precinct-wide renewable energy integration, waste-to-energy infrastructure, circular construction pathways, and economic inclusion strategies, all grounded in the recognition that environmental and social performance are inseparable from long-term commercial viability. But none of this work happens in isolation. We rely on networks of engineers, designers, academics, policymakers, and solution providers. the very ecosystem that ACEN has helped cultivate over the past decade. The built environment sits at the center of our climate and social challenges. Buildings are long-lived assets. Decisions made at design stage lock in impact for decades. So, when ACEN brings together multidisciplinary expertise, you are not just hosting events. You are influencing how cities evolve. It requires technical rigor, cross-sector collaboration, and courage, particularly when navigating trade-offs between cost, carbon, resilience, and inclusion. So today, we are not just celebrating a 10-year anniversary, but 10 years of influence, 10 years of shaping professional practice, and strengthening sustainability in the built environment. May the next decade move from ambition to acceleration, and may networks like ACEN continue to connect people who can make that transformation possible. Thank you for allowing us to host you today, and congratulations on an extraordinary first decade. May there be many more. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, thanks, Petro. I think you really broke it down so well. But yeah, the V&A Waterfront has lots of interesting stories. So please engage with Heather, Rosita, and Petro later on, because last year during the hotspot event, someone told me about the otter story, right? Where you had an otter that kind of, became a living participant in this ecosystem here when COVID happened and they weren't hotel guests. So someone needed to watch the otter after guests came back, because the otter was not so amused when people came back. And the V&A Waterfront, instead of chasing the animal away, they were trying to work around a solution. So it's just these stories that I think really showcase how we can obviously incorporate nature in a way that we can live in a balance to a certain degree. So thank you so much again for having this venue for us here. By the way, I'm Katerina. I know I haven't introduced myself. Most of you know myself, but those that are watching online, it's really such a pleasure to have you here today with us. Now I have the honor to introduce Peter Desmond. Peter, please come to the front. I remember very well when we first engaged and you reached out to me while I was at UJ, and it was such an inspiration, and I can't believe, I think we first engaged in the beginning of 2020, and Gracia, we first engaged in late 2019. So it's been such a pleasure to work with the different people that have influenced ACEN and the co-founders, and they really draw in people and make this network grow. So Peter, over to you.
Thank you, Katerina. You shouldn't applaud yet, because you don't know what I'm going to say, so. No.
Oh, do you want it? Just move in a little bit.
Sure. Is that okay? Yeah, ready? Okay. Good morning, everyone. Is it still morning? I've lost track. And to everybody in the room, and good morning to everybody online. Where are you? Over there? Sorry, I thought that was a good idea rather than hold the mic. My name's Peter Desmond, as Katerina says. I'm one of the ACEN co-founders, and we're all here today, which is a remarkable thing because we don't often get together. Welcome to everyone who's in Cape Town today. Thank you to Petro and team for hosting us here. And welcome to all those joining online from across Africa and beyond. This is quite a milestone for us, and it's very rare that we actually come together in this way. I'm really so grateful for all the time and energy that people have put into getting us here today. Co-founders, directors, operations team members, partners and volunteers. I'm bowled over to reflect on what ACEN has done over the last 10 years with 1,200 members in 42 African countries. And I never imagined 10 years ago that it would be like this today. Special thanks to my co-founders here today, Alex, Sally, Sarah, and Suzanne. And in this talk, I'm just going to give you my reflections on the last 10 years and hopefully do a bit of inspiration for you over what I think is going to happen over the next 10 years, which is only a very small part of the story. For those of you who don't know, I'm based in the UK and in Cape Town here till the end of the week. So it's a great pleasure to be with you here today, back in South Africa. I just want to tell you two things about me. Where did my love of Africa come from? So from 1982 to 1986, after a difficult time in my life, at the age of 27, I moved to Johannesburg for work with Pricewaterhouse. I asked to go to Australia, Canada, or New Zealand, but they told me that there was no way that they were going to send me there. I didn't particularly want to come here, I'm afraid to say, but I came and stayed here 4 years, and I was very pleased that I did. So when I went back to the UK in 1986, almost 40 years ago to the day, things seem to happen in tens, that's all I'll say. That was really for family reasons. I came back to Africa on many occasions to do pro bono projects mostly and some travel. And they included supporting my eldest daughter in South Africa who ran an HIV/AIDS education NGO, actually based in Mossel Bay and in Mpumalanga, as it turned out. So how did I become involved in the circular economy? In 2013, I started a master's degree at the Institute of Development Studies at Sussex University, where I did a degree over 2 years called Globalization, Business and Development. And in May 2015, Hubert, my supervisor, who may be online, I'm not sure, told me about the research work he had done some years ago in the Kumasi Hive in Ghana, which continues to be a major repair and remanufacturing hub in West Africa. He suggested that I use the time I had for primary research into the circular economy in a place where I had contacts, South Africa. I also had an interest in the cellular phone technology, which my daughter was using for her teaching, and the environmental and social impact at the end of life of technology. My dissertation was entitled, Towards a Circular Economy in South Africa, What are the Constraints to Recycling Mobile Phones? And I still have problems recycling my mobile phones in the UK 10 years on. Someone told me I should bring them with me and get them recycled here. I stood a better chance, which is encouraging. Strangely, my course tutor thought my studies will need to be monitored carefully due to my age. I was 60 at the time. In the end, I gained a distinction for my dissertation and my degree overall. So you're never too old to learn, honestly. So the last 10 years, on the 17th of June 2016, thank you to all those who were there at the foundational meeting. We'd called together a group of people some of them were my interviewees for my dissertation. The event was called Circular Economy Global North, Global South Dialogue. 7 people attended in person and 8 on Skype. Do you remember Skype? Okay. Some of whom are here today or watching online. It is wonderful that you're able to be here at this celebration. You were there at the start. I've got a sentence here that says, thank you, Suzanne, for your reflections. So thank you, Suzanne, in advance for your reflections. I thought it was going to be last. I just want to highlight some of the key milestones in our 10 years. ACEN started as a volunteer network, and we'll hear later, this I know is true, the number of volunteer hours that have been donated since ACEN started in 2016. I have high expectations that I will. We'll see this in the progress report that's going to be launched later. A couple of little facts. The first pay project was for the European Commission in November 2020, so that was beyond 4 years since we first founded. And the first person who paid on the project was in December 2020. The first person paid for running ACEN operations was in March 2021, 5 years after we started. And the number of people now being paid for their work on ACEN operations team is 6. And so that, again, is some great milestones. There are some projects that I'm particularly proud of. I just want to rattle through these. The first one was for the European Commission, called Circular Economy in Africa, EU Cooperation. And ACEN authored country reports for Rwanda, Kenya, and Morocco. Our involvement came by invitation after ACEN came second in the bidding process as part of a consortium with UK-based organisation Technopolis. The grid Arendal project in 2021 resulted in a publication entitled Circular Economy in Africa, Perspectives and Potential, which featured chapters contributed by many individuals. The project came to ACEN during the pandemic via a LinkedIn message from Trista Petterson, who was in Alaska at the time. So I was online with Trista, looking at polar bears, looking through her rubbish. The World Circular Economy Forum 2022 in December in Kigali, Rwanda, was the first time that the forum had been held on the African continent. ACEN co-hosted the forum with Citra, the Finnish innovation agency, after they had seen a concept note by ACEN for a Pan-African circular economy event, which nobody was interested in funding, written by, with a journalist, Soren Bauer, who may or may not be online. Funding was eventually provided by the Netherlands government. And towards the end of day one of that forum, I spoke on stage at a social event alongside the director of environment of the Finnish government. It was an emotional moment for us all, but Chris White in particular, who had a tear in his eye, he said, as we reflected on just how far ACEN had come in those 6 years. Amongst the memories of the World Circular Economy Forum in 2022 was a poorly attended accelerator session on South-South-South collaboration, which has developed into a significant movement, with Katerina attending a conference on the subject last year in Colombia. It's amazing just where our influence has taken us. The Circular Food Systems for Rwanda, which is a 4.5-year project with funding provided by the IKEA Foundation with the World Resources Institute. I'm very proud of this. I'm part of the team, less so than many others. Our involvement started when the IKEA Agri-Food Program Manager sent an email to the info@acen.africa email address. And if you want to know more about just the impact we've had on that, there is a LinkedIn post by one of our technical assistance providers there to just understand what the wide impact has been of that particular program. It's the longest and most funded project that ACEN has ever done. As part of that project, we've developed a food system circularity assessment tool for Africa, a self-evaluation web-based questionnaire and report, which was developed by ACEN on the SURF project, is now being designed for use in other countries and other value streams, and Elke and Christo have both been very heavily involved in that. Circular South Africa, in June 2016, the inauguration meeting, we talked about setting up a network in South Africa and then decided to go continental. Really ambitious. And now it's so great to see that ACEN is now leading on circular economy in our home country through Circular South Africa. Now, most of these projects were funded by invitation from the funder. We weren't involved in bidding in competition with others, and that's a real lesson for me over the last 10 years. The final reports from these projects are available on the publication section of the ACEN website. Now, what's the next 10 years? Now, these are my thoughts written in the UK before the ACEN strategy meeting we had yesterday, where we looked at distinctiveness for the future. You may disagree with my thoughts. You may think I'm crazy. Probably am a bit. But we were ambitious 10 years ago. Why can't we be ambitious again today and beyond? Firstly, where are the hopeful markers in Africa for circular economy? Currently, we see a lot of negative markers around the world right now. Strangely, perhaps a more hopeful one of these has come from Mark Carney, Canada's Prime Minister, who spoke at the World Economic Forum at Davos in January. He said the world order has changed. There is no going back to the way we were. I wonder what ways will circular economy in Africa appear in this new world order. Above all, I hope in the next 10 years that ACEN will be represented in all African countries where this is logistically possible with active chapters. I'm also curious to know if all our 1,200 members and chapters agree with ACEN's definition of the circular economy, the vision, mission, and opportunities of Africa, as well as the 3 strategic priorities. Is there a need for a continent-wide consultation exercise to gain greater buy-in from members and chapters? What will be the key issues for Africa in the next 10 years, I wonder? Waste management, definitely. Keeping scarce resources in the ground, the climate crisis, poverty alleviation, a need to create resilient food systems, migration of people both internally and externally. How can ACEN make the greatest impact and contribute to solving these issues through circularity? We can't solve these problems on our own. We need to continue to collaborate with others as we have done in the past. For example, the progress report that will be launched later today highlights the partnership with 3M, which came via a long-standing relationship with Pixera Global. So what should be our focus for the next 10 years? As the ACEN Strategy Review meeting yesterday, we discussed many things. And remember, I wrote this a few days ago. So I was hoping we have a wide range of expertise and experience in plastics, e-waste, minerals and food systems, amongst others. From what I see globally, the water, energy and food nexus is going to be the key over the coming years. There is so much scope for circularity to be a major contributor to enhancing community livelihoods, as well as adapting to the adverse effects of the climate environmental crisis. I believe we need greater representation of women and girls in our projects. Some of you may know about the Project Drawdown research project that suggests that the provision of more education for girls and supporting of SMEs run by women will be the greatest contributor to the mitigating the adverse effects of climate and environmental crisis. Africa is a young continent. Perhaps ACEN members can give talks in schools, colleges and universities and mentor postgraduate students on circular economy. What tools do we have to distinguish us up from others? The circularity assessment tool from the SURF project that I mentioned earlier. How can we develop this further in different countries and other value chains? To what extent do we seek government funding, or do we engage more with foundations and enlightened corporates? Do we need to be more proactive, such as bidding in competition with other organizations? How will we resource this? And don't forget about the ethics test that Alex and I created a few years ago as a means of testing whether organizations are suitable partners or funders. We have learnt lessons when we have not used this methodology. I would like to encourage us to think about establishing an ACEN circular resource library. Alex, didn't you say this yesterday? Yeah. I predicted that one. An online resource database for members to access articles and information on the circular economy. A good start has already been made by as part of the SURF project by Christophe, one of the ACEN SURF team. I would also like to propose a physical library, and I'd like to propose that we start it with a second edition of Catherine Wheatman's book, A Circular Economy Handbook. Perhaps it could reside at ACEN HQ at Nikki's office. Catherine, maybe you're watching. If so, you're the start. As the implementation of circular economy, Mr. Paragraph. Opportunities for Africa, according to the ACEN website, include, it states, Africa has utilized circular priorities for generations. Emerging business models, innovations and technologies which offer opportunities to improve livelihoods and reduce poverty while conserving the environment. With its rich natural and human capital, Africa can transition in a just way to a circular economy and ensure a just energy transition. But how can ACEN take advantage of these opportunities? Circularity discourse tends to underplay the adverse human impact of the linear economy. Our focus needs to be on the sustainability of our planet and the resilience of our people and entrepreneurs. ACEN can definitely contribute to this effort. As part of implementation of circular economy is different in each African country, can we find a common language for circular economy in Africa, which brings together all African countries? Excuse me a second. Very hot in here. Or maybe it's something else. Maybe I'm getting too excited. Can we find a common language for circularity in Africa which brings together all African countries? How can we use the principles of Ubuntu, particularly focusing on the human dimensions of circular economy? According to Wikipedia, Ubuntu has the sense of I am because you are, and people are people through other people, or the belief in a universal bond of sharing that connects all humanity. Many African countries recognize the concept of Ubuntu, even if spoken languages are different. And it's an indigenous philosophy across the African continent, including survival, spirit of solidarity, compassion, respect, and dignity, which embodies kindness, respect, empathy, sharing, and hospitality. And the human dimensions of circular economy is a subject close to Alex's heart, one of our co-founders, thank you, who has championed this thinking for many years. Alex, Patrick Schroeder of Chatham House, and I published an article on this subject, which is cited regularly by academics. I believe this focus will help African countries to meet their sustainable development goals and their nationally determined contributions, which are climate action plans submitted under the Paris Agreement to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and adapt to climate change. I've recently become aware of a methodology called contribution analysis as a means of impact evaluation. It's an emerging subject, and I went on a 5-day course at the Institute of Development Studies, where I did my master's, to learn about this and how it can be implemented in future ACEN projects, something to build into our projects and proposals, perhaps. Two of my favorite writers on circular economy, apart from Catherine Wheatman, that is, who is the best, are Ken Webster and Craig Johnson. And in their book entitled A, B, C, and D, Creating a Regenerative Circular Economy for All, they propose an alternative model to sustainable development about scaling out rather than scaling up, i.e. bigger is not necessarily better, but sharing good ideas with others may reap unexpected benefits. An example is in the Surf Project, where one of the SMEs run by a lady called Agatha created a community composting trading scheme which allowed her neighbours to work together and share the rewards. Talking about food, Elka, who's here today, who leads the Surf Project in Rwanda, has started, along with other ACEN members, to develop a circular food systems program for Africa, building on the Surf learnings. And how might this innovation link with the Great Green Wall initiative that is already underway in 13 African countries? You'll be pleased to know my final thoughts are: think big, start small, and don't be afraid to make mistakes as part of your learning process. Don't listen to naysayers. Most people thought that Bob Geldof, when he was setting up the Live Aid event, would not be able to do that. And he managed it in the most remarkable way. Rather, join up with people who encourage you, build on relationships that you already have already been successful. For example, the lady who we worked with, the IKEA Foundation, has moved now to the Laudes Foundation. It takes months and years to turn this into real projects. These are new relationships are key to the long-term success of ACEN. Keep going and don't give up on the things you feel passionate about. If I had time, I would have told you more about my own inspiration and motivation to champion ACEN over the last 10 years. That's another time. So thank you for listening, and this talk, if people are interested, can be posted online and follow the links I created. Thank you for listening, and good luck.
Sorry, I'll do that. Oh, did I click the wrong button now? Yes, I did. Okay, thank you so much, Peter. Maybe also just a minor remark to make. The Just2CE project, it's a research project that was funded by the Horizon 2020 project, which is through the European Commission. Peter was instrumental in also bringing that into the network. And it was the first research project of its kind that looked at how just is the circular economy transition, which was remarkable at its time and has actually also been basically awarded by the Commission as an outstanding project. Obviously, that's the research. Now we need to get on to the practical side of things, of creating this just and inclusive transition. Suzanne, I'm going to call you up next to stage. I remember when we were still sitting in Secoflay talking about ACEN. That was, I think, also 4 years ago. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Peter mentioned think big, and I'll give you a very personal story how scary it is to really think big and what actually comes out in the end, okay? About 20 years ago, and you said every 10 years something weird seems to happen, I attended this Alpha Mind Power course stuff, okay? And it was all about think about the highest thought, something that's just about tangible, but you would really kind of, and describe what this could be. And I had this visualization exercise, and I did it for a few weeks, and I saw an environmental Oscar, for better words, okay? So I had to visualize, I had to see it, what dress was I wearing, what was I smelling, what food was they serving, what kind of people were I meeting. And then I forgot all about it. And then my phone rang in 2015, and again, I get goosebumps because those circles, they just close. You know, really, circles do close. So there was a colleague of mine from Switzerland who just became director of the World Resources Forum. His name is Matthias. And I know him for a long time because he already pulled me in early 2000s into all kind of e-waste projects. And now I'm stuck with e-waste still in 2026. And Matthias said to me, Suzanne, South Africa is not yet part of a project, but we want to get you onto an e-waste project coming up soon. Please come to Switzerland, come to Davos, to the World Resources Forum, and just that you start meeting people and whatever. And I come there, and I was like, oh my God, this is my Oscar moment. Everyone I've ever read a book about there was there. I mean, there were those people, they call themselves the Club of Rome. Have you heard about the Club of Rome? Those are extremely bright people, okay? Jan Potočnik, Gunther Pauli was there, Richard von Weizsäcker was there, Ken Webster was there. And I was like, you know, if I would be a groupie, that was my rock star moment. I was obviously not the rock star, but I was the one that knew them from books, and suddenly they were sitting next to me. I mean, Walter Stahl was sitting next to me at the dinner table. I was completely blown away. It was really like unbelievable for me. I was so excited, okay? And at that World Resources Forum, it was very interesting because there were already some front runners in Europe that started to discuss this thing called circular economy, okay? At the time, there was nothing like the Green Deal yet on the table, but there were already some movers and shakers in the early hours that said, we need to actually really put the circular economy on the map for Europe. This is what we're going to do, and that will be the saving grace. And I was like, yes, for Europe. I mean, I'm German, you know? And I was so excited for Europe until I realized, hang on, I've actually emigrated to South Africa. Okay, what does it mean for Africa? And I started having discussions with some of the people then and there, and they said, you know, the circular economy is amazing, you know, this idea of entire continents going off the grid, you know, but also the first people saying, you know, someone's going to pay a price there because we need a lot of resources to fulfill these energy transitions. And that's when my bells rang. And, you know, being German, knowing how Germans are and Europeans can be, and knowing we need more resources now coming up soon, I thought, okay, perhaps it's important that I go home. And I rang up Sally, I had her on my speed dial, and, you know, my other colleagues, my co-founders, and said, let's get together. I need to tell you about the circular economy. And especially Sally and I, we were always passionate about thinking beyond waste. We even did at the Institute a course called Beyond Waste. I was also in the resource efficient cleaner production field working as a trainer. But there was always this nagging in me thinking, if you try to get better in something that is not right, what is the point of improving a system, you know, or going to a company and help them to be more efficient if what the very thing they're doing is wrong? But at the time, I couldn't really formulate what this is and that it's part of a linear economy thinking. Anyway, cut a long story short, this is literally how it started. We came together, we had coffees in this place in Claremont, and we were applying our minds. And that is basically how we have almost immaculately conceptualized ACEN, and how we actually step by step realized that what we really want is a voice in the circular economy space in Africa for Africans. And that was all we needed. And the first few years, we were all dawdling along as consultants during the day, and in the evening, we were building this organization. And I think in this progress report, you asked us, how many hours did you voluntarily spend? I mean, no one was standing there and saying, time is up now, I'm going to count my hours, you know. but it was our blood, sweat, and tears. And I want to just thank all my fellow co-founders from the bottom of the heart that you had the same vision and that we made it happen. So here we are, 10 years later. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you so much, Suzanne. Your passion is always very visible, and I really love that about you. That sometimes, it sounds very glorifying what you're doing, but it's really hard work as well. So I always am so grateful for your passion that you bring along and say, no, we need to change and we need to think differently. Now I'm going to hand over to Sarah, also one of our co-founders. And Sarah is with the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. So again, the circles are closing. Sarah, over to you.
Thank you, Kat. Colleagues and friends and my dear Africa Circular Economy Network family. It's such an honor to celebrate 10 years together today. I found the circular economy by accident at university when I thought I was going to study to be a lawyer and ended up studying chemical engineering because my science teacher thought that I would be wasted studying law. And I was very privileged that when I started my chemical engineering degree, the curriculum was changing. And it was the first time that the curriculum was looking at waste as a resource. And I've kind of followed this trash to treasure kind of story through my career now. And kind of it all goes back to my science teacher when I was 17 years old, encouraging me to do something, which was very bold, also because I went to all-girls high school. So I was, I've always been, I guess, a little left field compared to my peers. And I I found Africa Circular Economy Network when I was working at Green Cape and running the Western Cape Industrial Symbiosis Program, which is where I met Alex and Sally and Suzanne and Bonti and Pietro. The V&A Waterfront was a member of the Western Cape Industrial Symbiosis Program, one of the founding members, I guess. And through that, I got this amazing opportunity to join the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. And so now I sit on the other side of the world and I work on global policy for the circular economy. And I find the Africa Circular Economy Network probably one of the most meaningful things that I do every month because it keeps me connected to home. And Ellen MacArthur will always say, the circular economy is just a good idea. Like, that's why we should do it. Fundamentally, that's always been her thing. Like, this is a good idea, and we need to invest time, energy, and money into making it work. And I think it's been really interesting over the last kind of 2, 3, 4 years at the foundation to see the circular economy start to pivot, something that was very much an environmental and climate agenda into something that is increasingly about industrial resilience, economic resilience, and something also for livelihood. The Chatham House was supported by the United Nations Industrial Development Organization to do a stock take on circular economy policy around the world. And what we find is there's just kind of rapid development of enabling policy frameworks for circular economy solutions around the world. And there's a substantial amount of progress happening in Africa, which really, really excites me. At the same time, we have the privilege to be an advisor to a United Nations Environment Program research project that is modeling macroeconomic outcomes of the world meeting its circular economy commitments. And unsurprisingly to all of the converted in the room, the modeling finds that if business and governments meet the circular economy commitments that we currently have, so nothing hugely more ambitious, the world, people, businesses, economies are all better. And so it's really about circular economy being in this defining moment where it needs to move from where it has been comfortable in environment and climate into an economic and an industrial agenda. And I like to think I can say this also from living on the other side of the world and experiencing the circular economy in a very different way. I fundamentally believe that we have a thriving circular economy in Africa. And yes, it needs support, but it is thriving and it exists. My whole life, I have seen entrepreneurs repairing electronics, cooperatives recovering materials, designers rethinking fashion, innovators transforming food waste, manufacturers remanufacturing components, and informal sector workers who've always understood value retention. This isn't the same in other places in the world. It's really, really precious. And something that came up yesterday in our strategy meetings, which is really kind of one of the most meaningful things for me about the Africa Circular Economy Network, is that from the beginning, ACEN has recognized that transformation happens through people. You change people to change the way we do things. We've connected practitioners, we've empowered them, we've given them visibility, we've helped to build leadership on the continent, and we're ensuring that African expertise shape global conversations, that Africans have a seat at the table. Over the past 5 years in particular, it's been amazing to see how this network has grown significantly in confidence, in its reach, and in the influence it has in circular economy dialogues around the world. So the first decade was really, I think, about building networks, about building shared understanding. The next decade needs to be about embedding circular economy into business practice and into our economies. Africa's greatest strength is its people. Africa Circular Economy Network's greatest strength are our practitioners. We are proudly African, we are practitioner-led, and we are ready to support the next decade of the circular economy transition in Africa. So, congratulations, ACEN. It's an honor to be part of it.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Sarah. I must say, I'm always so grateful for people that have a full-time job, that still, after hours, and we are working also across time zones, are always there for us, and we can always call them up, and they can always guide us and support the team. And I think this speaks really to the value of connections that we are sharing as a network. Now, I'm going over to the other connections that we are having, and that is actually video messages from our chapters. So we have 10 chapters across Africa. We are represented in 42 African countries, but once we have a few more members in countries, these form a chapter and they basically create local dialogues amongst themselves. So they have also started to celebrate ACEN, and we're going to hear from Zambia, Ghana, Ethiopia, Rwanda, Uganda, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, South Africa, and Kenya. So if I can ask the tech guys, we can start the videos and listen to the other community that unfortunately couldn't be here today with us.
Greetings from Zambia and congratulations to ACEN for 10 fabulous years from the Circular Zambia team. We're proud to have been part of ACEN since 2019.
On 22nd May 2025, over 150 changemakers gathered here in Lusaka, Zambia for the first ever Circular Zambia Forum. The forum showed us that circular economy is far beyond the 3 R's or the R strategies. It's about innovation, collaboration, and scaling of business opportunities. Circularity is not the future. It is happening right here in Zambia.
This year, we also have exciting plans. First, we're going to further develop the ACEN chapter under the Circular Zambia platform. Then we're going to release a market study that we conducted last year in the electronics value chain and the mining sector. And we finish up with the second Circular Economy Forum in parallel with the Global World Circular Economy Forum in autumn.
We are working with the public sector to implement key policies such as the Extended Producer Responsibility (EPR) regulation, and to develop effective measures for compliance and enforcement. And this is not just for packaging, but to particularly target tires, especially in the mining industry. Other measures could include tax breaks for recycled materials, import duty relief for recycling equipment, and landfill taxes.
In addition to the work that's being done on the policy side, we're also working on data collection, storytelling, and a data intelligence report that will highlight the work that's happening in the circular economy in Zambia.
With all our efforts, we aim to reach a higher level of circularity in the coming years. We're excited to keep growing the ecosystem and impact in Zambia and beyond.
Hooray! Congratulations! ACEN is 10 years. I am Alice Winnie Mituhu, the Executive Director of Impact Footprints Africa. I am also the chapter lead of ACEN Ghana chapter. I'm so happy to be sharing this message with you today as we mark the 10th anniversary of the African Circular Economy Network. For us in Ghana, this is a very big milestone, which shows that there's still a lot of work for us to achieve in the circular economy space. In Ghana, as a young chapter, there is a lot of work we are doing in the circular economy space, which is not properly being highlighted across the world. This 10th anniversary is not simply an anniversary. It is a call to action. We are called to come together as members believing in the same mission of promoting circular economy to indicate the impact we are making in the circular economy space and then ensure that our work reaches out to those who really need our support. Mo ni pangmanga. Thank you very much, and I wish you a very merry celebration of this 10th anniversary. Hooray!
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Beza from Ethiopia, country lead for ACEN since 2019. Very happy to be here this afternoon to give a couple of reflections and commemorate a 10th year anniversary of ACEN. ACEN, in my view, has successfully created a multi-stakeholder medium that brought together diverse expertise in Africa and partnerships across the globe that can truly reflect and contextualize the African potential, opportunities, and challenges. In one way or another, ACEN has been and still is the voice and ambassador of Africa and Africans in the global circular economy arena. What makes ACEN unique is it serves as a bridge to bring the best of the two worlds and facilitate the learning curve. So in order to achieve the goal and mission of ACEN, the Ethiopia chapter has been actively engaged in representing ACEN in different national, regional, and global platforms in different capacities: panelists, keynote speaker, judge, trainer, author in some instances. To mention some, World Circular Economy Forum, Africa Circular Alliance, Ellen MacArthur Foundation, Earthshot Prize, etc. The team is also very proud to organize and host the Ethiopian Circular Hotspot event in 2025 with the Environmental Protection Authority of Ethiopia, Africa Circular, Holland Hotspot, and other partners and stakeholders. There's an interesting proverb in Amharic, in my mother tongue, Dir biabir anbasa yasir, roughly translated as if spider webs come together and cooperate, they can tie down a lion. I believe the key for truly unlocking the circular economy potential of Africa lies in our unity for collective impact. It is about strategically creating systems, designing economies that can capitalize on our indigenous knowledge, existing circular practices, young workforce, market niche, and natural capital. So this afternoon, my call to action is for African government and especially private sectors to collaborate and build partnerships that can create an enabling framework that to fast-track entrepreneurship capacity, investment opportunities to ensure a just, inclusive, and equitable circular economy transition in Africa. Thank you so much for listening.
My name is Kistom Senjumba. I'm the country lead of ACEN chapter in Rwanda. Today, as we mark ACEN's 10th anniversary, I believe this isn't just another celebration, but rather it is a validation. For me, it is applied responsibility and the momentum to scale the impact even further. Our Rwanda chapter is a testimony to ACEN's impact. With unlimited support from ACEN HQ, we have been able to organize a recurring circular conversation, an event that brings together circular economy stakeholders in the country for dialogue and networking. We supported our ACEN members to attend circular economy-related trainings and workshops and support ACEN projects in the country, and we hope for more to come. Today, as we mark this decade, let us remember Ufatanyino Msingi Terambere, which means collective efforts build lasting progress. Together, let's build the next 10 years, bolder, stronger, and fully circular. Murakos.
10 years. What an achievement. Who knew it would come to 10 years of influence, of impacting the different sectors in adoption of circular economy across Africa, and particularly in Uganda. It has been great to be part of the network, to collaborate with the different stakeholders, taking those baby steps up today when ACEN celebrates 10 years. Big thanks to the whole team at headquarters for the good work and the efforts to ensure that the circular economy cause spreads all over Africa. And indeed, many projects have taken shape and have had an impact, both environmentally, socially, and economically. Bigs up to all the ACEN family. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Edward, chapter lead for Ivory Coast. The 10th anniversary it reminds us that circularity is the pathway to inclusive growth and resilience. ACEN is unique because it has professionals who are passionate and who are transforming our linear economies into circular. Let us continue to regenerate and transform our economies. In French, we say, seul, on va plus vite, mais ensemble, on va plus loin. Alone, we go faster, but together, we go further. Happy anniversary, ACEN. The future is bright and circular.
Hello everyone, my name is Boyega Alorofem, chapter lead for Nigeria. Congratulations to Africa Circular Economy Network on its 10th year anniversary. This represents a decade of unique visual collaboration and excellent leadership in advancing circular economy across Africa. This milestone is a reflection of real impact, shaping policy conversations and accelerating sustainable solutions. ACEN is a unique bridge builder, connecting practitioners, policymakers, entrepreneurs, and communities whilst closing the loop. The Nigeria chapter led the hosting of the first circular economy hotspot to be hosted by a subnational government, Lagos State, Nigeria. This is among several events led in metal, textile, and energy sector, and we are proud of this milestone. This is the best time to move from talk shows to high-impact project implementation across Africa. As we say in Yoruba, Ajoyowo kan kò gbé ẹrù dórí. One hand cannot lift a load to the head. Together, we achieve more. Congratulations.
Hi, I'm Kirsten Barnes, the South African chapter lead. It is really exciting to be celebrating 10 years of ACEN. I happened to be in the first meeting when the ACEN visionaries and founders were speaking about a knowledge-sharing network, celebrating local African experts with locally developed solutions. And here we are 10 years later. So I've only recently taken over the leadership of the chapter from the wonderful Michelle Goddard. I think for me, one of the best meetings was just celebrating the collaboration for action across very diverse stakeholders. So the one was the ADMIRE initiative in diagnostic medical instrumentation across Africa, and the other was an ACEN member working closely with the SA Food Loss and Waste Initiative. And I think that's really the heart of ACEN. I'm going to end with a quote from our wonderful past president, Nelson Mandela. So vision without action is just a dream. Action without vision just passes the time. Vision with action, and I'm going to add in the collaboration of ACEN across around 42 African countries. Together, we can then change the world.
Hello, my name is Lilian Wambua, Director at NIA Ventures and the co-lead of the Africa Circular Economy Kenyan chapter. Happy 10th anniversary to ACEN. This is a moment for us to pause and reflect and celebrate years of impact. Honestly, over the last 10 years, ACEN has been able to shape the African circular movement by connecting practitioners, entrepreneurs, and policymakers across the continent. And we have seen the work that this movement and these connections has been able to translate to on the ground. And that is just powerful. In Kenya, we celebrate the fact that we've been able to post a lot of community engagements and dialogues that have seen a change in our policies, as well as posting the World Circular Economy Forum Studio in 2023. So as we celebrate 10 years of impact, may we continue to support the creation of systems that regenerate our planet and provide dignified livelihoods. Happy 10th anniversary, ACEN.
Thank you so much for all our chapter leads that you hear online, but there are so many more people and members involved. But I'm truly, truly touched by people that actually spend, again, hours trying to pull the local and the national network together and create this collaboration. Meet with us, give us input, give us feedback, because we always want to learn as an organization. We never want to be stuck in one way. So we always really treasure the input that we're receiving from all these members that you see online. Now we can actually go to the next part. And Susanna, I'm going to make you cry a little bit more. I'm sorry. So because obviously 10 years marks a massive milestone, and a lot of companies, they publish an impact report. And then I must say, the idea of a progress report is not quite ours. I took it from Patagonia. Because Patagonia's philosophy is always, we can always do more, and we always need to do more as a corporate company. And I found that really resonated with me, and I think the work as well that ACEN still needs to do. That's why we called it a progress report. And it was quite a journey. It took us 6 months almost to put this report together, reflect on the history, where ACEN has come from to where we are now, but also thinking about what is actually our impact, right? We've tried to dig up the numbers, and that's where the volunteering hours come in, to see, can we dig a little bit deeper? Because we don't have actually a management or like a monitoring framework in place. We are now going to start doing that. So we have actually developed an impact framework, which we're going to start also develop as an agile document, because in the beginning you see some of these metrics are rather high level, like saying we want to be represented in all the African countries in the next 5 years. But obviously you can dig deeper into indicators and measurements, and it also speaks to the social transformation. So we also need to understand how we're going to measure that in future, and how can we do that as a network. And I'm sure we have actually left out quite a lot of numbers because we had to dig deep. Remember, this was a volunteering organization, and we had to go through, I kept my team very, very busy to go through countless documents. So Vanessa and Krista were sweating because I was constantly, did you check this? Did you check this? And then also Danica and Nicola helped us with the write-up of this report. So it was really a co-creative way of putting this report together. And I'm just going to show you the cover slide, and the report is also going to be launched on our website, so it should be live online now on our website. And that's basically what it looks. So 10-year progress report, a just transition built in Africa. And why we have also chosen this photo is because of kind of having the seedling and having a growing, I would almost say a tree that's maybe not fully grown up, but it's starting to bear fruits. And also the aspect of sharing with other people and sharing our knowledge and connecting with others. Since you have been listening for quite a while to us, we're going to now ask your brains to get into motion, and that means we're going to do a bit of a Mentimeter exercise. So I hope you guys can start. You need a few minutes. Okay, perfect. So the first Mentimeter, but I think what I can do is get the participants online and us in the room on the Mentimeter. So let me just get this going. So if I can ask you to scan the QR code, I'm sorry for you guys, maybe in the back you might just need to quickly pop up and start scanning the QR code, because I want you guys to participate. Yeah, grab your phone. We have a bit of time, guys. And this is coming back, like, how many estimated volunteer hours has it taken to build ACEN so far? So this is our first question that we're going to start off. Don't worry, you don't have to guesstimate a number. There's a multiple choice, so we're starting off easy. Yeah, they need to start a presentation. I think maybe, guys, in the back, if you can't put it on screen, that's fine, but I think we can start the quiz, so I can moderate through it. Okay, so apologies, we have another like little technical glitch, but it's fine, we're going to sort that out. So hang in there, start joining the quiz. Maybe in the meantime, I can talk about this beautiful illustration that we have on the left. So when Peter was referring to creating a national platform for South Africa, Circular South Africa was born in 2023. And what we have been doing is in trying to make more understandable is actually translate scientific, so evidence-based technical reports into illustrations. So for South Africa, and particularly on our platform, you find actually, and this is just one of the many beautiful drawings that were actually drawn up back in the days, you find a whole overview of all the resource-intensive sectors like mining and agriculture linked to the 4 circular economy principles that we have put together. So we are trying in different ways to make sure that people understand circularity and how this is also linked to the 4th principle. So we obviously have 3 principles around circularity, but the 4th principle we always add, and that is benefiting all members of society. So also have a look at these beautiful illustrations because they're quite nice because they break these technical reports down. So let's see if the internet is working now. I know I'm making these guys work really hard in the back there. But I think maybe I can ask people. Let's get this going like this way. Okay, hands up. Who wants to do the first guesstimate? Andrew. 10,000? Okay, we've got 10,000 guys. What's the next one? 50,000. Oh, wow, Peter, you're like that's just you. Okay. Anyone else? So we got 10,000, we got 50,000. Krista, you saw it, you're out. I'm sorry, yes. Tobacco. Million. Yo, cheapest. I don't think I can measure that. Okay, but I want to start the quiz. Maybe, you know what? Let me start the quiz, guys, on my side. I can quickly start the Mentimeter quiz on my side. Yeah, I can try. Then we don't have it on the screen, which is fine. Okay, let me start it. Okay, start the presentation. Okay, I think it's loading. Let's see. Okay, I see a lot of people online. There are 17 replies already, or players already. So I need a few more people to join. There are more people popping up. Also the guys online. I mean, I actually don't know if you can scan the QR code. I'm sorry about that. Okay, let's get this started. We have, there's still a few late joiners coming in. Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'm going to start the quiz now. Okay, so the answer will pop up, or the potential answers. And please stay on that link. So I'm going to take you through a few. Oh, sorry. Yes, guys, now you need to. Okay, so I hope it has loaded. Is it loading for you guys? Okay, perfect. That's sharp. Yeah, press a button, that's perfect. It's multiple choice. It's nice, eh? I'm being kind here. Okay, so guys, you're right. So a lot of you clicked 18,100 hours, which is the right answer. So well done. So what we've been doing, and 18,100 hours with a 40-hour work week translates into 9.5 years of volunteering time. That's how long it has taken ACEN to build. Probably. It probably did. It probably did. Yes. So we're going to make this almost 10 years. Yeah, for 10 years. Yeah, it's almost, yeah. It's lots of people putting lots of hours in, and I'm sure we missed quite a few hours as well. So, but again, here what you see and what we've really tried to illustrate this progress report with is to show where we are present. So all the like the light green, we are present. We have members in these countries, but they haven't formed yet chapters. And the dark green shows where we have chapters, which is quite nice. So we're actually just missing a few countries where we need to pull in members. I'm very excited about that. Let's go to the next Mentimeter question. So that should pop up now on your side. And I've actually purposefully taken this out. Go. So how many followers does ACEN have? No, okay, that is the wrong question. How many members does ACEN have? Yeah, members. How many members does ACEN have? This question is not right on this presentation. Okay. Christo's not, and Vanessa, you're not allowed to tick. I'm sorry. Okay. 18 of 27 responses. There are more. I'm still waiting. There are a few people that are still hesitating with the answer. Okay, we're ready. Okay, so we had the multiple choice was 510, 865, or 1,180. Unfortunately, if you were listening previously, Peter gave the answer away. So it is 1,180 members. It's obviously plus minus. I know Peter was just rounding up. That's fine. Okay, fantastic. So let me just show this. Okay, so what I wanted to demonstrate as well, and this connects all back to what Gracia previously said, is like the connect, the empower, and the transform pillars, right? The circular economy transition side of things. We have looked at like the different stats, and obviously you can dig deeper, but I mean, since basically ACEN, and this is since Feb 2020, we have had 44 published newsletters. We have more than 1,900 people that subscribe to the newsletter, and what actually excites me very much, if you're digging into the data, is like the opening rate, which is at 41%, which is quite high. That means people are actually interested in the content that we're putting out, and it is a monthly newsletter that we're continuing to publishing. Our website to view is also around 10,800. And then LinkedIn has really grown quite well. So LinkedIn is our predominant platform where we have more than 17,000 people following our network. And then the membership network, that's really nice. So we have 32 partners. We have 853 friends of ACEN. Our core members are 276, and our organizational members, which VNA Waterfront is part of, are 20. So all this together is like 1,180 members. So we've been very, very excited about also figuring out the connection reach a bit further. So in that impact framework that you're going to see in the actual progress report, you're going to see also our targets for the future for reaching more members across multiple countries, also to make sure that we have South, West, East, and the North obviously represented. Go to the next one. Cool, this is going to be the next question. So I'm going to post it. How many webinar views does ACEN have on YouTube? No more multiple choice, this is a guess number, like just a number that you can type in. Please don't check YouTube now. Just type in a number. I'm very curious. I know I'm unfortunately can't share it. There's one that came in, 2,130, 5,000, 12,000, 50,000. Woo! It's the number Peter's going with. It's a good number, yeah. 16,900, 8,000, 2,300. Any last bidders? No, okay. 4,000, okay, perfect. So let's have a look at the next slide, and that's the empower slide. So obviously this is all about us sharing knowledge, collaborate, develop skills further. We've so far shared more than 90 resources. We had more than 15 plus training events, and we hosted 65 webinars so far. And then if we're looking at the webinar views on YouTube, so all the webinars that we have, in most cases, we all upload them to YouTube. So they're all accessible for everyone to watch at any given moment. And that's around 9,500 people that view it additionally to those members that actually participate during the webinar as well. We have published more than 500 case studies. That's with impact footprints. That was one of the first really project that ACEN also had, is looking at where circularity already happening across the continent. We supported more than 170 entrepreneurs and had quite a few webinar attendees as well, around about 5,200. And I must say, it has been difficult to trace and track these numbers back. So we're going to be better in future about that. So now let's move to the last question. Let me open it up again for you. And in one word, what does ACEN's transform pillar mean to you? And just remember, the transform pillar is around our initiatives, the programs, and the project to make circularity happen on the ground. So I would just like to hear your words around that. Inspirational. Love it. Opportunities, prosperity, social transformation. Just collaboration, innovation, 50,000. 50 50,000 of what? 50,000. Okay, so we need to do something in the impact framework that speaks to 50,000. We need to aim high. So when we also put the impact framework together, we started with like lower kind of like tier 1 indicators, right? To also make sure we can actually achieve it. But I hear your words, Peter, you need to dream big. Implementation is the word that came out the biggest. And then there is still also just. Be an active agent of, I think that means change. I think the words were running out there on Mentimeter. Unique, visionary, and resilience. That's really beautiful. Thank you so much. And there are a few more actually coming in. Now I just need to hunt them. No, I think action. Okay, it's perfect. And value. Really nice. Thank you so much. That's fantastic. Okay, I see there are some more coming in, but I think I'm going to move on. And I think we actually also need to go back. Let me just go one back. Transform. So here, this is really our programs and project. We really try to bring transformative change. And it can be difficult as well, right? Because we, at the end of the day, we don't have any baseline funding. So anything that we have as an overhead from a project goes back into the operations and the outreach, making sure we can run the network, making sure we can bring and develop the training to the forefront and have engagement and support organizations that need the support. So far we have implemented more than 34 projects. However, there are also projects in the pipeline where we're thinking they should last longer, right? It's lovely to have grant funding. It's fantastic to have a funder coming to you and say, please implement X, Y, and Z. But it would be really lovely if we can build these long-term sustainable initiatives that can also reach multiple African countries so that we really, really embed and that we really then can claim transformation as well. So I think this is really important. So the next 10 years are really going to be about driving action on the ground. So this is just a little bit of the progress report, right? Because I didn't want to bore you with a PowerPoint and basically going and narrating the entire progress report. As I said, the report is also online. But what really moved me and what I think was so nice to see is having voices from the network come through as well that have participated in ACEN. So here we have Karabo. He is, I think, based in Eswatini. And his statement to us was, we now see our bakery as more than a business. With ACEN as our partner, we are part of a much greater circular ecosystem, creating jobs, reducing waste, and empowering our community through sustainable economic practices. That's really beautiful. And we have captured quite a few of these statements, also like Agatha's statement and story, to really also make sure we tell stories, right? It's lovely to measure in numbers, but it's also good to tell stories and to capture these stories as well. One other statement is from Katerina. She joined us from Utrecht University. So she did her internship actually coming to South Africa on the Justice EE project. And she said, what I carry forward is clear. A successful circular transition is not only about closing material loops, but about closing opportunity gaps. Justice must sit at the center of circular strategies so that the benefits, jobs, access, and dignity reach communities long excluded while economies become more resilient and nature is regenerated. And it's stunning to have younger people coming to us, wanting to actually work with us and learn from us while they are studying. And with Adrian as well, with the World Resource Forum, he was my master's student while I was still at UJ. And he came to South Africa. He worked with the reclaimers and did his master thesis, and now he works with the World Resource Forum. And it's beautiful to see these students working. She works in a climate space now on ESG with companies. So it's fantastic to see how we can also capacitate people, and they go out and then they're going to carry that forward in their own careers. So I'm very, very excited about that. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so Suzanne, sorry, I'm just repeating it for the online audience as well. So Suzanne has worked on the Sustainable Recycling Initiatives, which is taking place in South Africa, Egypt, and Ghana over the last few years. And now basically the forthcoming project of that is called Circular Electronic Initiative, also recognizing that we need to move more to circularity. It's going to be implemented by ACEN for South Africa, and Adrian is obviously one of the implementers as well. So it's really lovely how these relationships join together. So this is our progress report. I have just given you a glimpse. Please have a look at it. We are very excited to share this with you. I think it's quite a digestible report. We really wanted to show also different stories and voices about it. So Christo is showing the printed version. It is online as well. I had to guard it with my life. I've been hunted down so many times by people being like, show me the report, but I'm not going to show it yet. So let me move on to the next slide. Guys, can you move to the next slide? Sorry, the clicker is not working. And this is, we called it honoring our roots. And we didn't want to really say what this is all about. And I think Eduard already mentioned it in his video message to us. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And this is really about honoring our co-founders today here who are with us. And I've tried on social media to grab some snapshots of them. I wasn't so successful. So Peter and Sally, that was part of the Just to CE project in Barcelona where we had the consortium meeting with everyone. This is Suzanne at the Hotspots event. Alex, I didn't know that you're actually one of the 50 most influential French sustainability personas out there. So I found that out about you. And then Sarah, you're very invisible online, which I think is on purpose, but I really, really enjoyed this when I went back to your LinkedIn posts. And Oliver tagged you into a post that says, a truly great boss is hard to find, difficult to part with, and impossible to forget. And he tagged you into this. So this is really, really stunning. So what I would like to do, and before I'm going to ask you guys to come up to stage, before the event becomes too busy, I would also like to thank the operational team who have put countless hours together to put this event together and who do back me up. And I know things are really difficult sometimes. It's really difficult to fit everything into a head. And I do stress them a little bit as well. But I am so grateful for, especially Christo and Vanessa, and obviously the executive directors, for your continued support, for your passion, for your willingness to learn, and for your willingness to do things that we haven't done before, which is, it's actually really mind-blowing to have that attitude. So I really am appreciative of you. And then obviously to Suzanne and Gracia and Nikki for being available to us and to speak through challenging things, but to also always have an open conversation. We have a very flat hierarchy in our organization, and I truly, truly am appreciative of that. To all our members, to the people that put countless hours behind it, to the chapter leads that really do support us, but also all our partners. We have an amazing network of people that maybe we haven't yet collaborated with directly, like Food Forward SA, but I can call them up and I can say, hey, what's happening in this food donation policy currently in the country? And they will tell me, and they will connect me with the right stakeholders. So I am incredibly grateful for that. So now, let's get the co-founders onto the stage because we have a little bit of gifts for you. It is gifts. No, you don't have to do anything. Yes, just maybe Peter, you can go here. This is rather tricky, actually, holding this thing up with one hand. Yeah, sorry. Sorry. Okay, so first of all, Christo, please give the little gifts. This is a little bit of a South African treasure box, taking it back home. No, there's no biltong in there, don't worry, you get through customs. Yes. Thank you. And then these are for you guys. Yes. so much for your dedication, for creating this network, and actually for being still with us 10 years after as well, and always being available to us. We really, really, truly appreciate you. And I think now is the official part is over. Thanks for being patient, listening so much to us. We can start with like cheering to the next decade. I don't think I need to say much about the next decade. Peter, do you want to say something? Okay, fair enough. Then we do a little bit of cheering.
It's not me actually that's going to say this, but Sally's going to say thank you to Catherine.
Oh, God, I didn't want to cry. I'm not going to cry. So yeah, I'm not fairly silent. I'm a back worker, but it's been an absolute privilege and an honor being part of ACEN for all the time, and to have brought Katerina on board. I tell you, it was incredible. We brought Katerina on with the Just to CE project, and I was like, thank the Lord. And then it just really got better from there. So thank you for everything, the blood, sweat, tears, the ideas, the passion that you bring. And we really appreciate you. And we hope that you continue to be with us for many, many, many more moons. So thank you. Yeah.
Maybe let's get the ops team to stage as well. We do a little bit of champagne toast, and then you guys can also finally drink something. Okay, let's. Vanessa, Christo, I also would like you on stage. Nikki, please. And then let's grab a glass of champagne and maybe give it also to the co-founders. Maybe put down the boxes, otherwise it's getting a bit too heavy. Perfect, you guys got. Then we can just go in front of the camera. Yes, I'll grab a glass as well. Okay. Cool. This is like, I've never emceed like a toast, to be honest. So this is a first for everything. Okay, we need to move some tables as well. Okay, guys, thank you so much for being with us today, for celebrating with us, for supporting us, and for all the commitment and the connection that you share with us. Cheers to the next 10 decades. 10 decades, guys, 10 decades.